Ever since 2014, I've used a Mac, iPad, and I've even had an iPhone since the iPhone 8. I've always been a Mac and Apple lover. I was that kid that's parents couldn't afford a Mac, so I would Hackintosh my PC all the time. It's safe to say, I'm an Apple fanboy. In fall of 2023, Microsoft flew me out for their Surface Laptop Studio event where they were dropping the Surface Laptop Studio 2. And this got my mind wondering. I've always used a Windows PC for gaming and a Mac for work, but could I use Windows for both? Now, despite my love for Apple devices and using a Mac as my main PC, I really started to realize that it took a lot of devices to accomplish everything that I needed to. In the Apple ecosystem, there is no one device that fits all of your needs. There's no touchscreen Mac. There's no gaming on Mac. You basically have to use an iPhone or an Apple Vision Pro. Because right now, iOS dominates gaming, but Apple is slowly starting to shift there. But at the end of the day, you need a bunch of different devices to accomplish different things. So I've been using the Surface Laptop Studio 2 since Microsoft offered to send me a unit, and this wasn't sponsored. I specifically asked for this device because I wanted to test it as a replacement for my Mac. The transition from Mac to Windows was simple and easy. I've always had a gaming PC, and I've been using Windows since Windows 95, so I'm no stranger to the Windows ecosystem.
The hardest part about this transition was losing the ecosystem with my other Apple products like my iPhone. There was no more iMessage, there was no more phone calls or FaceTime, there was no more AirDrop, and even more crucially, there was no more shared clipboard. Now, I was able to use Intel Unison to take care of the first three, with the exception of FaceTime. I mean, you're just not gonna get FaceTime on your PC, but shared clipboard, that's something I haven't been able to find a solution to, and I'm desperately in need of.
My current daily driver is the Surface Laptop Studio 2, and although it was provided to me, it still would be my go-to device for the simple reason it's the perfect all-in-one. I can use the touchscreen and the pen for complex photo editing, but it's compact enough to take around with me. The screen is nice, and the hardware is decent enough to do most things, even gaming. Although that could be a little bit better, but I'll touch on that shortly.
Now, I know this might be an unpopular opinion, but I actually like Windows 11 compared to some of its predecessors like Windows 10. I think it's a step in the right direction. And I say step because there are some areas where it is crucially lacking, but we'll get to that.
But overall, there are some beautiful elements in Windows 11. The operating system has been given an overhaul compared to its previous generations. And last year, Microsoft introduced Copilot into Windows 11, and we're seeing reports that Windows 12 will have a huge focus on AI, probably building on Copilot. Now, I for one am excited about this. I think it opens up a whole new world of possibilities. For example, I've been using Copilot to analyze my social media data, build charts for me, help me come up with new ideas, and much more. I think having an integrated assistant into the operating system that's able to toggle features, interact with your documents and apps, and is smart enough to not just show web results all the time will be huge.
Now, this is not meant to be a video where I just praise Windows and Microsoft and Surface. Far from it. Actually, I'm gonna be completely honest about the bad of the transition as well. Like, for example, with this device, one of the biggest limitations that we mentioned earlier is performance. Like, I don't really know how to describe the experience. This is one of the coolest and the best computers I've ever used. And also, one of the most frustrating. It has its moments. And that's about all I can say on that. It's a paradoxical experience. Now, I need to go hit the gym because I'm due for a workout, and on the way, I'm gonna explain some more of the bad that I found with this transition. Now, lately, Microsoft isn't exactly known for their focus on user interface and user experience when it comes to Windows. There's menus that feel extremely outdated, and there's some things when you're using it that just don't make sense from a user experience perspective. And as far as an ecosystem is concerned, Surface is really just a division of Microsoft that was built to showcase what the best case scenario of a device could be for Windows. But Windows is built on tons of different types of computers from different manufacturers. So there really is no ecosystem per se. That's the thing, Microsoft is a software company. They don't really make hardware. Surface is just an exception, whereas Apple is a hardware and software company. So primarily hardware. They make their phones, their watches, their Macs, all of that to work together, and Mac OS and all of the software on top of these devices are just the cherry on top. I guess you could say that the closest thing to an ecosystem integration would be the Microsoft account. You need a Microsoft account to set up Windows, and it kind of makes it easier to transfer your settings and do backups and all that stuff. And then pretty much all of the Microsoft apps use your Microsoft account to log in. So the Microsoft App Store, Calendar, Outlook, all that stuff. That's about the closest that you can get to an ecosystem. For a device-based ecosystem, it doesn't really exist. You can use PhoneLink or Intel Unison to connect your phone, your Android phone, which is a little bit more feature-rich than connecting an iPhone. But other than that, you really got nothing. There's no way to connect to any smartwatches or anything like that. I had to make a quick pit stop to grab some Snickers bars for an upcoming video that I have that I'm going to drop over on Instagram and TikTok and maybe even YouTube Shorts. But if you don't follow me over on those platforms, username is @TheSpencerRyan. Go shoot me a follow. But I'm going to use tech to kind of showcase the correlation between eating something like this on an empty stomach versus eating it after a meal, which should be a pretty interesting experiment. So stay tuned for that video. I switched to the Surface Laptop Studio 2 because it provides something that Apple simply cannot at this moment, an all-in-one experience. This means that instead of having to have both a laptop to edit videos in DaVinci Resolve, because quite frankly, DaVinci Resolve on iPad just didn't feel like a pro tool to me, and also having a tablet like an iPad so that I can edit photos using the touchscreen and the pencil, I can do it all on this device right here. But the biggest constraint here is hardware. Microsoft is notorious for shipping Surfaces with old hardware, and that's actually not the case here. This is a 13th gen i7 along with a 4060 laptop GPU, but it's plagued by the same problems that all Windows PCs are. The chips just suck compared to Apple Silicon. For example, although I am able to edit in Lightroom here using the touchscreen and the pen, it is extremely slow and laggy when you compare it to editing in Lightroom on an iPad. And because a lot of Windows PCs put all this beefy hardware in their systems to make up for performance issues for things like gaming and high-intensive productivity tasks, it causes things like thermal throttling and heavy power consumption, which leads to very, very poor efficiency. Now, Intel did just come out with their Core Ultra chips, which has a dedicated NPU for AI tasks, as well as enhanced performance using their performance and efficiency cores because of their new architecture. And I'm actually going to San Diego next week to attend a Qualcomm event where they're going to unveil their Snapdragon X Elite processors, which also have a focus on AI and better performance. So ideally, we should start to see more and more Windows PCs with these types of chips in them, or even better chips, and that should lead to better performance when compared to things like Apple Silicon, but that's in the air. But what we do know is that Microsoft is set to announce and release a new Surface Pro and Surface Laptop with these chips in them, so ideally that should lead to better performance across Surface devices as well, but by the time you're watching this video, there's a chance that that hardware is already dropped.
So here's the thing, as a tech lover, it's hard to choose sides. Both Apple and Microsoft make beautiful hardware and great software, and some dominate in certain categories over the other. For example, I believe Apple currently has a leg up over Windows PCs when it comes to performance. Specifically when it comes to performance for work tasks, not gaming. And in this current moment, Microsoft offers something that Apple does not. A system that can do it all without requiring me to buy multiple devices. And with the current efforts from Intel and Snapdragon, we should start to see that performance gap on the Windows side close, but we'll have to see. And Apple's hard at work on their end too. A huge push in AI and even some new hardware patents that show that they might dabble in other hardware categories. Now, I'm keeping my eye close on this space, and as a consumer, I'm going to go where I get the best experience, no matter how much brand loyalty I have. But for now, I'm sticking to Windows as a daily driver. Despite its shortcomings, it accomplishes everything I need it to do, and it's only going to get better and better. That's all in this video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.